your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. Thank you so much for being with us here on the program. We've got a very interesting program ahead, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I know I am. I'm going to learn a lot. We have a very special guest on the program. She is, as it says here anyway, she is a visionary leader in the field of integrative, great word, thank you, integrative medicine, bringing the benefits of traditional medicine, meditation, and alternative modalities in a well-rounded approach to health and healing. She's written a book. We hope you'll get a copy of it, Grounded in Chaos, learning, same thing, I think, into adversity and learning joy. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us, or should I call you doctor?
Well, for the sake of our interview, let's be informal.
Okay. You are also a pharmacist, is that correct?
Yes.
So you only fill the prescriptions, you don't write them, and you have rules to follow as a pharmacist. And a lot of people, they get a little cranky at the counter when they can't get what they want because maybe their doctor didn't do the right thing, or the pharmaceutical company didn't do the right thing and send the right stuff, and on and on and on. But everybody behind the counter is just doing the best they can, including you, to get them the medications. And I heard an interesting quote. I'd love for you to talk about this a little bit as the pharmacist, that we used to eat food, or they say we should be eating our food as medicine. Otherwise, we'll be eating our medicine as food.
Wow, that's a great quote. And it really does hit the nail on the head. So I'm mostly, my career has been in hospitals and consulting in hospitals as well. Back way back in the 70s, I did retail internships and decided that wasn't for me, but way back when, before there were even computers in pharmacies. So nevertheless, eating food as our medicine is really a strong premise that I believe in. There are several physicians that also promote eating healthier. There is the Mediterranean diet that is the healthiest diet that we know. There are several others that I recommend depending on the person's particular health needs. So when it comes to medications and traditional medicine, I do feel there is a role for it. However, there are also other options to heal.
And to that end, in addition to being a board certified pharmacotherapist, that's a new one on me. You're also an ordained minister, a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, professional healthcare consultant, botanical medical medicine specialist. You and I share this one. Reiki master, certified Mune. Is it Mune Kai
Munai,
shaman?
Munai Key.
Munai Ki shaman, intuitive, author, and speaker. Wow. And you did all that last week, right?
I did all of that last week,
Very
but not
good.
in that not in that order.
Not in that order.
So
That's amazing. And I when I talk with
thank
people who
you.
have that long list of modalities, if you will, behind their name, whether there are letters or not, I find it fascinating that they've taken that kind of time. I mean, I've been around doing this for 45, 46 years. I will be 65 in June of this year. I get to join that elite club. I like to think of it as an elite club. But there's something that struck me when I mentioned that quote to you and you started sharing your perspectives on it. The thing that kind of befuddles me a little bit, and I will tell you, my mother did everything she could to feed us healthfully. She used to make her own yogurts. She used to, matter of fact, she used to make yogurt popsicles with the yogurt orange flavored and put it in the freezer with toothpicks in it. Oh man, those were good. Made a lot of her own stuff. I mean, just seriously, and then tried to feed us as healthfully as we could. Of course, we circumvented that. I did anyway, with, oh, I don't know, Captain Crunch, a box of it in my bed, in my drawer. As a kid growing up, I was not helping my own condition. But what I find, it's kind of sad in a way, is that our food suppliers have been for the last 30 or 40 years or more been undermining our food supply, which is making us unhealthy, which causes us then to turn to the medical community for help. And then we get, as I am now entering that elite club of Medicare recipients, now we're hearing, we've heard threats. I don't know how real or unreal they are about, oh, we're going to cut Medicare. We're going to cut Social Security. We're going to cut Medicaid. We're going to cut the stuff that the older folks who now are beneficiaries of the food supply that they've been consuming for the last 40 or 50 years. And now we're up a creek without a paddle. And now what are we supposed to do? So I'm curious. And I'm going to speak specifically from my perspective in the older set, the seasoned citizens, as I coined about 35, 40 years ago. Um, what can we do with all of the, we'll call them pre-existing conditions? Uh, what can we do to fix our machine so we don't
Mm,
have to turn to the medical community in that fashion? I mean, if I break an arm, I'm glad they're there.
right. So what can we do?
Yes.
Well, uh, I'll tell you what I do. And I'm an N of one. Okay. I fill out Fitness Pal, my diet every day. I list everything that I eat. It tells me the calories and the breakdown and the components. I also exercise every day, whether it's walking or on a row machine, or if it's too hot here in Florida, I'm on a treadmill. So, exercise, recording your nutrition and making changes. I also wear a continuous blood glucose monitor, and it's not because I don't have diabetes. I have a very open-minded physician that when I asked for it, she said, absolutely, that will help you. So now I am able to track how my body responds to what I'm eating, which is really important at this stage of my life. And I also make sure that I get enough hydration. So you live in a warm climate, I live in a warm climate. So
Hmm.
we typically, you can go to the emergency room or to a lab, and they're taking your blood or they're trying to start an IV. And at our age, we tend to be dehydrated and it makes it harder to do those kinds of things. So hydration is really important. The fourth thing is sleep, monitoring your sleep. I do have a CPAP machine because I stopped breathing 37 times an hour. So that's not
Oh,
good. So I was very severe, and I have a machine that is turning my energy levels in my body around. I was very exhausted going through the day, and this is definitely helping. So sleep, nutrition, exercise, hydration. Those are my four pillars to good health.
now when I do enter on the 1st of June and I go see my physician, I'm going to ask him for one of those because, uh, unfortunately, or it's just the way it is, I do have high blood pressure and I do
Mhm.
have high blood sugar, and
Mm,
I am type 2 diabetic. Now,
okay.
the funny thing is, when I was first diagnosed in July 2020, I was over the top. I mean, we're talking in the 500s.
Mm,
All right.
gosh,
Now that was
you
not my
may
A1. That wasn't the A1C.
no, that
That was
was your blood, yeah, your
yeah.
blood glucose.
So
So
he
you
gave me
could
the
have
metformin.
actually been, you could have actually been in a coma from
Yeah.
that high level.
Well, he gave me the metformin. I started taking
Hmm.
it. My blood
Hmm.
level went down. My blood sugar went down. I was monitoring it because I had a monitor. And by the middle of August, because it was July 23rd, I was diagnosed. I had it down almost to normal. By the middle of September, it was in the normal range. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a test. I'm going to go from 2 to 1 metformin a day. The level stayed the same for the next
Mm,
month. And I stayed on the one until I saw him in November. And he said, continue with what you're doing. You're looking good. I'm amazed at how fast you've brought your blood sugar down. So then I didn't see him again until the following February. He then go, hey, knock it down to 1. I thought, okay, I've been doing 1. Everything's normal. So I stopped altogether. And the blood sugar stayed the same until 22 March. My blood sugar went up. Now, you can help me with this because you deal with all kinds of different modalities. Is it possible for a stressor like, in my case, the death of my father, a possible cause for my blood sugar going up? And I have done no changes in my diet. They're the same as before
yes.
when it was normal. And I can't get it to go down. And I'm back on the metformin and it's not going
Mm.
down.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is
And
that you did
pardon
a
me,
good job.
but I'm not asking you for a diagnosis here. You are not a doctor, so folks don't get all concerned. And I'm not looking for free medical advice here. I'm putting this out more in a general sense. So please, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but please, I just wanted
No,
to put out that disclaimer.
yes, of course. So we're just having a conversation here.
Hmm.
And we're talking about this situation where you seem to have done a good job and then you had a major life stressor. And yes, it is very possible with a major life stressor for your body to then dysregulate with regard to your blood sugar. Now, from the shaman's point of view, because you're having difficulty getting it down, there is some unprocessed grief there. And grief,
No,
yeah,
well, and I will throw one more in there. My best friend of 53 years died 2 months later.
okay. So you're adding to the
Yeah,
stressors
we're
and the
we're
grief.
stacking them. We're
Yes. So I'm sorry, first of all, sorry for your loss of your father and your friend. But the unprocessed grief can really linger. Grief is weird. I mean, you could see something in a grocery store that reminds you of them, and all of a sudden you've got the tears going.
yeah,
And that's okay. That
yeah,
is okay. It's
yeah.
okay to allow that emotion to process through you. And it may take a very long time, but now that you're aware of that, you'll be gentler and give yourself some grace concerning that.
Thank you. That is very helpful. I know someone that I need to go see to help me to process that grief. In addition, that June, I told you I was stacking. Another dear friend of my wife's and mine, who was a mentor. He was a Shumash Indian here in Santa
Mm,
Barbara, who we knew very well, and he passed away as well of cancer, which was
mm.
very sad. But yeah, it's and I even said of my best friend, and we had so. Here's the thing. I haven't cried over him at all. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But every time I think about him, I can't do anything but laugh because we had so much fun together.
Nice.
I mean,
What a
that's,
wonderful memory.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we had a few little kerfuffles. I mean, in grade school, the brand new coat my mother gave me for Christmas got ripped and I blamed him. And the two of us wound up in the principal's office and he's asking us, what's going on with you two? You're best friends. What's the deal? You know, and that went by. And then, of course, we took a trip together to Kansas. You know what trips do to people, especially driving trips. They can put a lot of stress on the people traveling, right? And when we got
Sure.
back, I said, look, I'm willing to call it even if you are, because I don't want to lose the friendship. And we called it even and we continued on from there until his passing a couple years ago. Anyway, all that aside, it's one of those things that I have not been able to convince my primary care physician of. Is that something, and let's just say somebody has a concern, such as I do. Does that mean that I should say, I'm going to say bye bye, I'm going to look for another doctor because you don't agree with my assessment? Is that a good enough reason to cut and run?
I would say if your physician is not listening to you, to what you're saying, if they've got those standard 15-minute appointments,
Mm,
then that's probably a time when you've asked them at least twice, maybe three times, and you haven't gotten an answer. That you're just getting the pat, okay, what's your blood pressure? That looks good. That looks good. Okay, we'll see you in 3 months.
mm,
That's not the attention that you need.
yeah,
So to be able to sit and have that conversation with them,
yeah.
integrative medicine physicians are that is their role in the world. They want to sit and listen to patients. So many of them are primary care, family practice, but others can be, you could have an internist that is good at listening.
Mm,
So when you're finding, you don't know all of medicine, I don't know all of medicine, so I have to be willing to listen to what they say. But when I'm finding everything they're giving me is causing me more harm, even though, I'm understanding, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I've fired a few physicians in my life.
mm. And again, there's nothing wrong with it because it's not up to them to take care of us as individuals. They're there to facilitate our healing or our health care or our preventative. We don't
Right.
turn our health care over to them. And I think that's kind of what the medical community has assumed. And I mean, they have assumed the role and we've let them do it. And it's time
Mm,
for us to take back our power, and not in an aggressive way, but in a way that says, look, uh, my healthcare is my issue, my business, not his. He's got, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 100. Who knows how many patients he sees in a week? Um,
mm.
and I've got to take a full charge. We're talking with Dr. Lisa Nezneski, grounded in chaos. Lean into adversity, learning joy. That's right. Here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Richard Dugan. She is Lisa Nizninsky and Nizninsky. I will get that right. My apologies for
Nez,
Niz
Nezneski.
Nezneski. And
There
again, the
you are.
book, Grounded in Chaos. There was a book that I helped to promote several years ago called Chaos to Clarity, which I thought was fascinating. And when we talk about chaos, um, we're talking about what here?
So there was a point in my life. Imagine this, okay? I'm going along with life. I'm in the hospital administrator, had 275 employees. And I get a call from the CFO, which is not unusual. So I came into his office and he said, "This is one of those difficult conversations." And I'm like, my heart drops. What happened? Did
Mm.
somebody bill a medication wrong? Is there a Medicare audit? What is going on? So it turns out that my wages were garnished. And he was very compassionate. He said to me, "Lisa, this happens to physicians all the time, and this is how you remedy it. And, just follow this advice and you'll be fine." So I really appreciate that guy for being so kind and compassionate when I had an issue. So, so I call home. What's going on? Why are my wages garnished? We were having an audit, an IRS audit. And I said, "Well, you could have told me." Now, what happened? Well, they just closed the audit and now we have to pay $32,000. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Why didn't you tell me this?" Well, I know you're under a lot of stress and I think I didn't want to add more to it. Well, guess what? You just added tenfold to it because we had a mortgage, we had a second mortgage to support his so-called business. And then we now had what amounted to a third mortgage to the IRS because they
Oh,
didn't then put us on payments. So what happened from that moment was I lost my home in Pittsburgh and moved to North Carolina. So we sold the house, moved to North Carolina, and then things got a little weird. Um, I had a feeling, there were several times when uh, it was my grandson's birthday. We went out to have lunch, and the lady in the restaurant would not look me in the eye. So I'm thinking, okay, that's weird, but I've seen this before. It happened when I was back in Pittsburgh. So anyway, long story short, I eventually saw what I cannot unsee.
right.
And I everything in my life was thrown into upheaval all at once. Financial, relationship, work. I knew I had to keep my head in the game for work because I had to support myself. And so, through a contentious divorce, um, work was a rock at that period of time because I knew that if I could do my work, I actually became very creative at that. I developed a whole new program during that period of time when my life was in upheaval. So, what was going on was it felt like there was a tornado of emotions, of feeling betrayed, feeling not good enough, feeling you know uh, feeling my age, that feeling I wasn't attractive, all of those deep emotions, plus all the emotions that I had stuffed down over the years so that we as a family could eat. If mom didn't work, people didn't eat. So yeah, I giggle about it now, but because I'm so much further ahead. But nevertheless, that situation caused so much turmoil all at once. So that was the chaos. The grounding part of it was that I had taken several meditation classes, and my original instructor taught us a grounding technique, but I had listened to his program hundreds, literally hundreds of times, and thought, well, what if there's something out there? I hear him mention who his teachers were. What if they have programs? And so I began to take these meditation programs through Psychic Horizons of Boulder, Colorado. They're a great little school, but they are a school that teaches you clairvoyance as well. So as I learned the grounding technique, they were supportive in telling me to ground your house, ground your car, ground the dog, ground yourself, ground your bed, ground everything. So, and they have a specific technique where you extend energy down to the center of the earth and create an energy circuit, allowing energy to come back up through your feet and then down from the heavens. So you're sitting in this energy bubble. And so the grounding part is what really started my healing through that process because I really took a gut punch from that. I had done everything in my power to keep the marriage together, to keep just keep it flowing. And so I was writing a book at that time. I mentioned how my work was key. And I actually developed a methodology where I would ask myself questions. And that book is called Seven Mindful Questions.
Mhm.
And I had that book out with the editor, and she sent it back and like, you need more work on this. And I just didn't have the energy to do it. But as part of my healing, I began to journal regularly, writing and writing. And I would write emotions and I would have what I called odd thoughts where I would continue to write and write and write. And it actually came out in a narrative verse. And that's where uh, Grounded in Chaos came from. I sent Grounded in Chaos off to my editor, and she said, "This is the book that needs to be published first."
Mm.
So that's how it happened.
Wow. And I thought my story was the worst. Don't we
We
all?
all have them. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
we all have difficulties. And that's one of the reasons, Richard, that I wrote this book, because this was not a midlife crisis. I'm older than that. This is not how I wanted my life to be at that age at all. So, 2015 is when we moved down to North Carolina. I was out of there by 2018 December, and I've been living here in Florida since. So much has changed in that period of time. But writing the book so that others can see that it is literal hell going through all of that. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel that is not a train coming for you.
Nice play on words there. We're talking here on the program about your health and wellness. We're talking about grounded in chaos, leaning into adversity, learning joy. Dr. Lisa Nezneski, and we are here on Tell Me Your Story. I will preface repeating my guest's name by saying that it is the height of disrespect not to know how to pronounce the person you're talking with, even if it's just a first name. Lisa's the easy part. That was the name of my first wife. Lisa Nezneski is my guest. Grounded in Chaos is the book, and we hope that you'll get a copy of it. I hope that you will indeed go to her website, and it is her name, basically, lisanezneski.com. And you can find out more about her and the work that she does. We hope that you'll do that. I want to talk to you more about this aspect of shamanism because
Mm.
shamanism takes a whole I mean, as if each of these other modalities that you have listed here doesn't, but shamanism I've always been intrigued by. It takes a whole different perspective. But your, how do I put it, brand of shamanism, Munekai shamanism,
Munaiki,
Munaiki.
Munaiki.
All right, it's not a name. Well, it is, but we'll get it right. Munaiki, Munaiki. Um, Tell us about what makes it different from some of the other forms of shamanism, and then why did you choose a shamanistic path?
All right. So, what makes Munaiki different is that it is the tradition from the Caro native uh, of Peru. When the conquistadors came and decimated the native population, the shamans moved very, very high up into the Andes, above 14,000 feet. We brag about our 14ers here in Colorado, but nevertheless, their mountains are higher. So they are part of the Rocky Mountains. And the Native American, South American tradition is very similar to the Native North American traditions, like the Navajo Diné tribe uh, uh, traditions. So why I chose Munaiki. Munaiki means heart centered. So Munai, heart, key. So as we are focusing inwardly, so it's introspective and out and external. The internal part is finding those emotions that need to move through you.
Mm.
Stuck emotions, if they're there long enough, they cause physical illness. So if we can move some of that energy out, then your body will right itself.
Yeah.
So we move the energy out through a technique called illumination, where we move the energy into a candle to transmute it, and then I begin to backfill with bright white light from heaven. So as that light backfills those spaces, my teachers used to say that 30 minutes of shamanic healing will is similar to 3 months of therapy. So it looks at the root cause. And so many healing modalities do not look for the root cause. So we're down deep into the energy field. So with your permission, I enter your energy field and I serve as that hollow bone. It is not me doing the healing. I am trained to uh, allow that energy to come through me to the client. So Munaiki has four, well, the way I perform it is the first illumination session is where your body's just kind of getting used to these higher energy vibrations. The second one, illumination, is again additive to that first session. So we're going even deeper. The third is called extraction. And extraction is I'm looking at your body and seeing if there are any entities attached, whether you believe in that or not. I typically do not attract people with entities for extraction. The people that come to me are those that have had a traumatic death in the past caused by an implement. So it could have been a spear, a knife, a sword, many types of traumatic deaths. So the most interesting one was a scientist from the NIH that I worked with who, very scientifically oriented, but also was open to shamanic healing. And I found a curved blade in her body. So as I was removing that blade, she saw uh, stained glass, red, yellow, green. And as I was working on her, the scene that I saw was a guard in a church, and they were surprised, they were blindsided and killed. So there was some argument or whatever, but her life ended in that moment, being this guard, seeing the stained glass of the windows. So we shared her death moment. So it's
Mm.
fascinating when we're doing these extractions. And then the final the most intriguing are the soul retrieval sections. So each of us has had trauma, and one of the ways that our energetic body protects us is by fractionating off that part to preserve your body, but your energy bodies. So when you bring it back, it's willing to come back. And we take a journey down to the underworld where we look at the chamber of wounds. What really were you wounded? And then not so much the emphasis on the wounding as much as the chamber of contracts. What did you decide this life was going to be before you came here? And how we can actually rewrite that contract so that you shift the momentum of your life. And then we move into the chamber of grace, and that is where your soul is living. And typically, I get a scene of either a child or it's a person, and it is you in your life. And sometimes it could be from a past life as well. And
Mm.
then moving on to the chamber of gift, you actually are given implements to help you integrate that soul piece into your body. So it may look like a journal, it may be a fancy pen, and the indication is for you to write those emotions to continue to process so that soul piece is now sticking, you know, integrating into your body much easier is really the better frame of
Wow.
mind. But, there are similar processes in the Navajo tradition. I'm also studying the Hawaiian shaman. They have a different lineage, but there are many things that are really interesting. So
Mm.
I'm open to experiencing these other shamanic techniques. I personally don't do as much drumming, but I've had sessions with people who do the drumming. Um, it just kind of I use my rattle and it shakes the energy body a little bit, shakes it out of you so you can
Mm.
then move it out and transmute it. So that's why I chose shamanic healing. It's quicker. It helps bring pieces of you back that you didn't know were gone, but lovingly bring back. It's heart centered, so it's love centered. There's so many wonderful things about the Munai-Ki tradition.
And I'm guessing that you didn't really need me to describe some of my situation to know exactly what the issue was. In your experience, people who have issues with their blood sugar, because that's what we were talking about, it usually has to do with grief. Is that it, or was this intuited through you?
So it's well known that when a person who is a diabetic, uh, there's medical evidence that when you have a stressor, that your blood sugar can go out of whack.
Okay.
So it could be anything from an infection to, as you described, a major life
Oh,
upheaval.
okay.
However, the grief part of it was intuited by me.
Ah, okay. Well, as I said, I have someone here locally that I can avail myself of in that regard to hopefully clear that and get my blood sugar down where it's supposed to be. My blood
Exactly.
pressure. Go ahead.
I do want to say that I work on Zoom, so I can work all over the country, all over the world for these healing sessions.
And of course, all they do is go to your website, which is Lisa. And I'm going to scroll up here so that I have it correctly. It is Lisa Nezneski.com.
Correct.
That's LISANEZNESKI.com. We'll be linked to that website and hope you will also go there and check out her book, which is Grounded in Chaos, as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. It is amazing to me sometimes, Lisa, how fast the time goes on these programs. We're not done yet, don't get me wrong, but we're probably close to halfway. Halfway.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just like, where does the time go? I used to say Cleveland until they won the NBA championship. And then I said, it doesn't go there anymore. I don't know where it goes, but it doesn't go to Cleveland. Uh,
Well,
no,
Cleveland rocks after all. Come on.
exactly, exactly, exactly. Um, Now you are also, and I love this because my wife is an herbologist. She may
Mm,
be retired from the medical community. She used to work in cardiology, but
mm.
she is an herbologist. She's taken a correspondence course. That's what it is, and so forth. You're a botanical medicine specialist, and the early medications, as we like to call them, came from all of the different plants and trees and so forth that just grew around us. I think of specifically of Chinese medicine. They didn't have
Hmm.
an FDA. They just
No.
knew, at least I believe it was intuited. They just knew intuitively that it worked. And then, of course, when it did work, it just confirmed what they already knew that, oh, yeah, take this and this will work. Put this salve or this, whatever it is, this tincture, take this, put it under your tongue, blah, blah, blah. And when it works, they go, see, told you, because they just knew. Do we, as individual, maybe patients or clients, depending upon who you're seeing, do we have that innate ability and why aren't we using it?
Well, the last part is a rhetorical question. Why
It
aren't we
is.
using it? But we all do have that innate ability because think of aspirin. Where did it come from? Do you
Mm.
know?
I
Willow
came
bark.
from the bark of yeah, yeah, from the
Right.
bark of a willow
So,
tree. Yeah.
right. One of the biggest pharmaceutical country companies in the world, Bayer Pharmaceutical, Bayer Aspirin, they only recently were able to take aspirin back under their portfolio of drugs because during the time of the Nazis, that was part of their punishment that they didn't get to market their number one drug. But nevertheless, back to aspirin
Hmm.
and other medications that are derived from nature. Did you know that there are millions of bacteria in the earth, in the ground?
Oh yeah.
So much so that the drug lincomycin comes from Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's an antibiotic. Uh, yep, lincomycin. I can give you, hundreds of examples of drugs that were uh, came from the actual plants. Now, what natural, botanical, or herbal medicine has that traditional medicine doesn't have is you have the whole plant.
Mm.
And so much time was spent on researching plants to find the magic bullet to be able to cure things where they missed the point that the actual plant itself has, essential oils. It has uh, the um, the chlorophyll in
Mm.
plants that that it actually moves light and it moves oxygen through the plants. We have hemoglobin. If you look at the structure of hemoglobin against the structure of chlorophyll, there's like two or three molecules different. It's so similar.
Wow.
And so it's fascinating the way that, if you look at a tree, what does a tree represent to you? It's the lungs of the earth.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you look at a tree, when you look at lungs, the bronchial tree branches look
Hmm.
identical. So, I firmly believe that the overarching energy of all things that are living as a physical living
Hmm.
um, come from the same source, which is love.
Mm.
So they have different vibrations of that, stones vibrating slower than plants, vibrating slower than animals, vibrating slower than people. And then, of course, are angels and guides who vibrate much faster.
Mm.
So, that again is a shamanic point of view
Yeah.
where we honor all levels of the existence on this planet.
And I heard something not too long ago, and I was not aware of this, and yet when I was told this, I'm going, that makes perfect sense. It isn't just the trees. It isn't just the plants on the land that provide oxygen. It's the plants that grow out in the ocean. That is one, if you will, that is one huge lung. And we have got to take care of it because if we were to lose the ocean, and thank goodness it's massive, because there's still a chance to clean it up, we would be in a world of hurt because there wouldn't. I don't think there are enough trees on the planet right now to take over for what we would lose if the oceans lost their ability to provide us with oxygen through the plankton, through the seaweed and the kelp and all of those things that grow on the surface, let alone underneath. That I'm sure the oxygen floats up from down below. And it's fascinating, I'll be honest with you, the things that we don't know that we then discover. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to communicate with one another, because I'm sure there have been things that you learned from other people and vice versa that neither of you were even aware of at the time. I mean, all of the research and the study, you think, so to speak, I know it all. And it's actually what you learn after you know it all that's important. I've heard that
That
phrase
is so
before.
true. That
Yeah.
is so true. the amount of medications that were approved during COVID were so many. They all were fast tracked. And there were some major breakthroughs during that time. You know, a lot of people are anti this, anti that. I'm not an anti, you know. I think there's good things that are in everything,
Mm-hmm.
except for maybe arsenic, but I guess there's a role for it too, somewhere. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so um, back to the communication, I think you're right.
Yeah.
You know, that um, I think as a whole, our cohort, our age, you know, there's a lot of fear out there of what's going to happen with regard to Medicare, Social Security, and other things. Nothing's happened yet. That's what you have to be happy about.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's happened. Okay. One good thing I see happening is more of a focus on nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to get afraid because I'm going to take action. Back when there was the Clinton administration wanted to uh, revise healthcare. Maybe they should have, in retrospect. Okay, because we
Yeah.
were caught with our pants down during COVID.
Yeah.
However, moving forward, we had a huge step with Obamacare. PPACA was the actual legislation, and so it's having faith in the system, even though it's sort of dysfunctional at the moment. The ship will right itself because we will speak out. We have to. We had the generation above us that spoke out about the Vietnam War,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 we can learn from that. We don't need to be sit-ins and shut-ins or whatever those were called.
Right.
Uh, um, we, you know, even there was a group that sat in Wall Street a few years back.
Oh, I
That
remember.
doesn't that doesn't move things along.
Not
It's
really.
collectively getting together with one voice saying, you can't do this to us, and we're not going to put up with it.
Yeah.
We're going to vote you out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
You
that's
know,
what has to be done in that respect on any level, whether it's the national or state or city or just your community. You know, it's enough is enough. It says in the preamble, "We the people," not "you the people." And yeah, I understand that even the people who are making the laws and the regulations and so forth, they're members of the "we the people," but they have to listen to us. And the one thing that I keep reminding people of is that when these people are elected, uh, it's not their job. They are now our servants. They are our servants. And we need to remember that and remind them of that. That
exactly.
they are not autonomous from us. They are beholden to us, and not because of how much money we gave, but because the majority of people voted them in there. Ergo, you're going to listen to all of us, and we
Mhm.
need some changes. We need some drastic changes. And I know that there are a lot of people who are in favor of what's been going on in Washington over the last few weeks or months in regards to the chainsaw method, which I think should have been a scalpel, not a chainsaw. And they could have done it probably, it might have taken a little longer, but they still could have gone through and with a scalpel cut away what we didn't need. But not us. Don't cut us away. I mean, that seems like
Yeah.
that's kind of how it feels.
Unfortunately, we put a businessman in there, and that's how you cut expenses in
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
You cut people right
yeah.
away. Your biggest expense is people. And we are not a business. We are a country.
Yeah. Now I've said that over and over again to people. It says, you people want to put somebody in there to run a business. It's not a business. It's a government, and governments
Yes,
don't run like businesses. And look at what some of
at
the
all.
businesses did. I even think about the conversations that we had, and we're kind of getting a little off track, but the conversations that we used to have about 20 years ago, 2008, 2009, and certain companies were let off the hook. They were bailed out. I'm going, wait a minute. That's not the capitalist way. That's not how capitalism works. If you make a mistake as a business owner, guess what? You suffer the consequences, and so do all the people that work for you. And if you make the right choices, then you and your people benefit from the right choices. But the government doesn't bail you out. And a lot of people say, well, you know what would have happened if they hadn't done so. And
Exactly.
I go, then let it happen.
Right.
Let it happen.
Exactly.
But anyway,
Somebody
that's
has to, yeah.
yeah. The medical
Well,
community, and I want to ask you
uh,
about the medical community in general. Now, as I
sure.
said before, I break an arm, I want I want to go to a doctor. I want to go through the medical community in that
Right.
respect. Chiropractic took forever to be accepted as a legitimate form of care and of
Hmm.
preventative in a lot of cases. I used to see one on a regular basis when I lived in Phoenix. I know that there's a practice now, and I'm trying to think of what it is. Oh, it's the um, uh, types of treatment, acupuncture, acupressure, and so forth. And
Hmm.
they are slowly being accepted, just like chiropractic was. And do
Hmm.
you see that the mainstream medical community is beginning to realize that if they don't start to incorporate some of these other modalities, so we'll call them non-traditional modalities, that they're going to lose out and that people are going to find a way to go elsewhere in order to get the care that they need. Do you think that that could happen? Or
I don't have an opinion on that.
does the
I
medical community
really,
really care?
well, of course they care. I mean, I just realized today why my physician in Pittsburgh used to only give me 6 months worth of refills on my maintenance medications.
Hmm.
So I'd come back in 6 months. I mean, it just hit me today that
Yeah,
I would send him I would sit there in the office and say, you can give me 12 months of refills. It's okay. It's legal. I'm a pharmacist. I can tell you that. It's
right.
okay, but never would do it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a business. There's a
Yeah.
business aspect to it, but I don't really have an opinion on that. I
Okay.
think I have a couple of wonderful grandkids, and they're being raised by my two sons that um, they have a completely different outlook on raising their kids in a good way.
Hmm.
You know, they're much more in tune to well, two are girls, so they're going to be a little bit more emotional about things, but the way that my son handles it is so much better than the way I used to handle their um, episodes of high
Yeah.
emotion.
Yeah.
I would be tough on them, which wasn't necessarily the best thing at that moment. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
I see that generation being the ones to make the decisions more from the heart than from
Yeah.
the intellect. So,
Well, my mother was a nurse by training.
mhm.
And so she had a I would venture she was probably also very intuitive, raising six kids especially. And she did her very best to impart to us the importance of eating healthfully. And of course, I'm sure that back then, and we're now talking in the late 60s, 70s, when I was still living there till I turned 21, uh, they uh, they would buy the best they could find. And back then, the food had a whole lot more nutrition in it. It was not as highly processed as it is today. And so my mother, I think, did a great service for all of us. But one of the things that got me recently, and when I say recently, several years ago, when I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, as well as high blood sugar, she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It runs in the family." And to that, I said, "Well, I don't want it. I'm sorry, I don't want it." And leads me to think, Lisa, that I don't have to have it. I
That's
don't.
right.
There is a way. Now, is CRISPR a way that we are going to go to eliminate all of these different conditions to where we don't have to worry about it? Or are we literally going to have to take the bull by the horns and say, this is what I have to do? I've got to go do more exercise. I've got to
Yes.
find better way. I got to go to the farmer's market to buy my fruits and vegetables and so on and so forth. And I have got to, and I'll tell you, Dennis Henson, who is the author of a book that I talk with him every week about Real Impact Daily Inspiration, he says, every day, doesn't matter how long it is, 5 minutes, whatever, read something inspirational, but read
Mm.
every single day something that inspires you. And those are the kinds of things that we need to do and that we can do to make those changes, to what, rewrite the, so to speak, the DNA of sorts.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit out there. First of all, what is CRISPR? CRISPR is a gene editing technique
Hmm.
where they splice the gene and insert certain amino acids to correct a defect. That um, that is a real dilemma in my mind. Um, the ethics of doing something like that, I don't think have been clearly evaluated to the point where it can be accepted. Now, remember when stem cell therapy was very
Yeah.
controversial?
Oh, yeah.
Virtually every new drug I see coming out has some start, may not end, but start in some type of stem cell therapy.
Hmm.
So, how do I feel about that? I see lots and lots of people getting better.
Yeah.
But the point that I want to make about this is that you're responsible for yourself. Don't expect that somebody's going to come along with this magic bullet CRISPR gene editing
Yeah.
and fix you. You know,
Right.
you're in your body with the genes that you have because you were supposed to be.
Hmm. I want to talk a little bit about that, but I will add one final thing to that discussion. And I always put this question out there. You don't have to
Mhm.
answer it, it's sort of rhetorical. Just because we can, does that mean we should?
Yeah, that's right.
We don't know what the unintended consequences might be. Great, you got rid of sickle cell anemia, but what is that opening the door to? And that's another conversation for another program. What about this other aspect that you brought up in terms of taking responsibility, and is it because it seems to me that if I were in the medical field, if I were a practitioner of any kind, I don't think I'd want the responsibility for your health or someone else's. I'm having enough trouble with my own to have to be responsible for yours. You know?
Right, right. Well, both of my sons followed in my footsteps in their own way.
Hmm.
My oldest son is RN, MBA, master's in nursing. So he works as a nurse um, consultant, if you will.
Hmm.
His wife is a nurse practitioner. So they met in nursing school and married. And now they have the two daughters. My second son is a physician. And I opened my store. I had a store in the late 90s into the early 2000s, which was a health food vitamin store. And I did consultations out of that. And so the kids grew up eating health food from the store.
Hmm.
So um, the younger son and I both have celiac disease. His wasn't diagnosed until he was 17 because he did not look like a typical celiac kid. He was 6 foot tall. He was an athlete. He was muscular. So he went into medicine. And I like to think that part of that is because I became a disciple, if you will, of Dr. Andrew Weil out of Arizona, Tucson, Arizona. So Dr. Weil retired, and my son George is now managing his practice
Oh,
as an
wow.
integrative medicine practitioner.
Hmm.
He's triple board certified. But my point is that he's looking beyond the medical paradigm as an integrative medicine physician. So that's why I'm recommending that if you really want to move beyond that medical paradigm, find a physician who is open to those kinds of changes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that the best, now certainly gathering all the information, that's a wonderful thing, but I would venture because we promote this on the program, we encourage people during this, the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and what? Listen to that still small voice, your intuition. I learned a method called, it was once called, and it's maybe still is, muscle testing, better known as
Mhm.
kinesiology. I learned that back in
Right.
the 80s. All right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
um, you eventually get to the point where you don't have to do the physical, or whatever the physical things are. You just start to know. It becomes almost second nature or natural to sort of look at it, pick it up, whatever it is. Okay, would this be in my best interest? Okay, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. Oh, no, I think this will work. Okay. And it isn't because it's a colorful box and you're attracted to bright shiny things. It's because you're being told from within or on high, however you want to phrase it, this will work for you or this won't
Yeah.
work for you. And
And that's
that to me is very important.
circling back to the botanical medicine thing.
Yes.
How did they know that this plant helped? They intuited it. They
Mm-hmm.
held the plant. Will this help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they saw an animal eat it and fall over dead. Well, then they knew they couldn't possibly get benefit from that plant.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Dr. Lisa Nezneski is my guest. Nezneski is the last name, and the website is Lisa Nezneski, Nezneski. That is Lisa, and the last name Nezneski. Grounded in chaos. Lean into adversity, learning joy as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, along with Dr. Lisa Nezneski, and the thing that I want to talk before we wrap up about is this the leaning into adversity. The one thing that we as human beings, as a species in general, do probably really well when it comes to adversity, we're very resilient and we adapt. We do that.
Mhm.
We do it time and time and time again, in spite of certainly there are some circles that say that we have had five human species extinctions over the thousands and thousands of years that man has been on the planet, which means we weren't totally extinct. There must have been a few left, unless you are also of the belief that we're a farm planet, and when we all died out, whoever was planting us planted some new ones. Whichever one you want to go with, um, we are resilient. But I want to talk about this concept of learning joy. What's
Mm.
that all about? What's that all about? I
Oh,
didn't know it was
gosh.
learned. I thought it was just sort of innate, that when you experienced it, there it is, joy.
Okay. So I'm a very serious person
Uh-oh.
by nature. Okay. So when I was going through all of these things, the very first visit with the therapist, uh, she said, what does joy mean to you? And I could not define it. I had no idea. I said, listen, I know two people named Joy. Does that count? And, and she said, no, no, you have to work on bringing more joy into your life. And so now, in retrospect, not quite 10 years, about 8 years ago, when all of that was going down, uh, I have a completely different viewpoint on joy at this point. I had to learn it. You make your living from your shoulders up. You tend to learn things. You don't feel things because that
Yeah,
you don't get anything done that way. At least
exactly.
so I thought. But that's a bad way to be. Don't be like me. Don't stuff down your emotions and keep driving on, driving on. That is not good for you. So, learning joy through that process of healing, I began to write a gratitude journal. And I found joy through that, where I was listing something that I could be grateful for every day.
Mm,
And the vibration of gratitude is just one level below love. And love is the highest vibration. So gratitude is really up there. So by focusing on what I could be grateful for, things were going wrong. It felt like I was, Dorothy in that tornado where my house gets plunked down in Kansas or wherever. We're not in Kansas anymore,
Hmm.
in Oz, I guess it was. So it was so foreign to me, everything I was going through. I was not prepared for that. My life was, a series of very stepwise things that I did in a certain fashion. But when everything went wrong at once, I was getting it from all levels. My health was crappy. My my love life sucked. My relationships were awful. Um, it just went from there. So I had to refocus myself and think, okay, I live in this country. I am 90% better off than the rest of the world. So I got to think of it that way. So I got to find something that I'm grateful for today. And one day I wrote things like hockey playoffs. I love hockey and I love the playoffs. So I was, writing that. And then I found a pair of pantyhose without a hole in it. I was grateful for that. I mean, something silly like that brought
Yeah.
me joy. I had coffee in my favorite mug and I did not spill it that day, which is very unusual for me. I spill my coffee every single day, which is the whole another poem inside of Grounded in Chaos. So learning to appreciate the small things, and that's when mindfulness came to me. So being aware of what's going on in the moment so that you can appreciate a beautiful sunset or the way that it sounds when the wind blows through the palm trees or bird calls in the morning when you're walking the dog. Finding something to appreciate through mindfulness, being aware of what's going on in the moment. So it was a gradual progression to where one of my favorite meditations is loving kindness, where I'm sending out prayers, if you will, to first to yourself, then to someone who is your beloved, to someone that you're sort of neutral to, like the checker in the grocery store, sending them some love.
Hmm.
Then someone that you've had a minor disagreement with, not a drag down knockout fight. It's something that you just have maybe a difference of opinion with. And then for all living beings. So loving kindness is part of the part of my Thursday night meditations that'll be switching times very soon. But I have a free meditation group that's mindfulness, and sometimes I throw in some of the clairvoyant techniques in meditation. But
Hmm.
every single one of those starts with grounding, and then we move on to a guided meditation. So, from that experience, I'm now much more aware of the bodily sensations, which is one of the anchors. How do I feel inside my body? So, mindfulness is mindfulness of breath, mindfulness of body sensations, and mindfulness of ambient sounds around you.
Hmm.
So, that those are the three basic anchors. So, um,
So
that's
people,
how I learned
right. And
to have joy.
people can find out about those Zoom get-togethers through your website, right?
That is correct.
As well as the time change whenever that's going to take place. Dr. Lisa Nezneski, grounded in chaos. Lean into adversity. Learn joy as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I want to thank you so much for being with us here on the program. Dr. Lisa Nezneski, author of Grounded in Chaos. This has been fascinating. And in addition to have learned a little bit about my own personal condition, which I do appreciate, and no
You're
violation of
welcome.
HIPAA laws here, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm the one giving permission to go down that path. And of course, now all of you know. But then again, if people, Lisa, you don't know this, but a lot of folks who know me or have followed me for any length of time, someone else could actually be writing my unauthorized autobiography. Or no, I guess I'd write the autobiography, my unauthorized biography, because I share so much about myself on these programs. But I look at these, in my opinion, these are my therapy too. And if I can get answers to questions, even if they're in general, that I can then incorporate into my life and make those adjustments and move forward to make, what is it? The phrase is, there's always room for improvement. If I can make the room for that improvement, I will do so and continue to move forward and grow and share that with others. And I thank you for helping us to do that.
It's been my distinct pleasure to be with you and your listeners on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you are very welcome. And I do have three final questions. I ask all of
Okay.
my guests at the end of the program. However, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. And then we're here Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com with podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Spreaker. We are also on iHeart and Amazon Music and many other locations across the internet. We're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. Please subscribe and click notification. And then if you can, leave us a tip. We have a PayPal account that's there for your security as well as ours. And also a reminder that my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life, is available on Amazon. And on my website, richarddugan.com, there are links to both PayPal and Amazon. So I hope that you will avail yourselves of those. And finally, I'll repeat it, even though I've mentioned it once already. Please take time during this, the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and spend some time, quiet time, your own time, whether it's somewhere in the house, in the office, out at the beach, in my case, to go into that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still small voice. And with that, we do go to those three final questions for a very special guest. And the first of those three is, who is Lisa Nezneski?
I am a human being that is committed to making the world a better place through healing modalities.
What gets you up in the morning?
Besides my dog having to go for a walk, um, no, the motivation to get up and work. I've always been a morning person, so yes, I get up early and have my fresh cognitive mind to be able to do some of the things that I need to do. What gets me up is knowing that I am going to make a small difference in someone's life every day, whether it's my own life, my
Mm.
dog's life, my husband's life, my grandkids' life, somewhere. I am through my messages that I'm putting out through a podcast like this or my own YouTube channel. I'm going to make the world a little bit better.
And finally, what was your best day?
Oh gosh. Um, I want to say October 19th, 2024. That's the day that my husband and I got married.
Wonderful. Well,
That
congratulations,
was a really
belatedly.
special day. Thank you.
And again, we thank you for joining us here on the program. And we thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love Talal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.